let's see what's going on CNBC's Make It. Elise Lightyear, 35, traded a hectic New York City life for China and now lives large on $30,000 a year. This is surprising coverage from CNBC.
For the typical American, there is a lot of confusion about what life is truly like in China. When I tell them how modern the cities are, people are shocked. When I tell them about how low the prices are, people are shocked.
Isn't Chengdu gay as f too? There's like that's a gay city, right?
$4 US for a Michelin recommended meal. The quality of my lifestyle in China is much better than the quality of life I had living in the US. My name is Elise Lightyear. I'm 35 years old, and I moved to China in 2019.
No, gay city is real. It's called Chengdu.
I grew up in the city of Ann Arbor.
And they beat your ass if you don't twerk. They do. They beat your ass if you don't twerk in gay city, Chinese style.
For Michigan, after I graduated college, I moved to New York City and lived there for 10 years. I was working in reality TV production. I was tired of working 70 hours a week for 10 years, being in my 20s. I felt like a 50-year-old woman. I was exhausted. I was living check to check, which sucked. One day I just woke up and it just clicked that this is not the life that I want for myself. I came up with this idea that I wanted to leave New York. I moved to Beijing in 2019 and lived and taught there for 4 years. Then in 2023, I moved to Chengdu and have been in Chengdu ever since. He's gonna let the duck be free. Good luck, Mr. Duck. Chengdu is maybe a place you've never heard of, but it is actually one of the biggest cities. Chengdu has a population of over 20 million people, including myself. Currently, I'm a university teacher and I work a total of 18 hours a week, 4 days a week, and I teach freshman first-year university students who already speak English, and I teach them essay writing. I take the subway every single day to work. It's really easy to navigate. All of the signs are in English and Chinese. All of the announcements are in English and Chinese, so it's foolproof. This round-trip subway trip cost me 2 yuan, which is 28 US cents. My
fucking hell, man. That is crazy, brother. Everything she just mentioned feels like a flex. Like, she's actually smirking at us, bro, is true. It low-key feels like she's just flexing. 28 cents. Can live a life with $30,000 a year. Works 18 hours a week. 4 days a week. This shit makes me kind of mad, I'm not gonna lie. Because, like, China is able to do this with nothing. Like, China was able to do all of this compared to, like, America and the amount of wealth that America has. China was able to do this from nothing, dude. Basically nothing. It took a long time. It was a lot of hardship, but god damn. How the fuck do you look at this development over the course of past like 30, 40 years and not realize that capitalism is fucking dead? Okay? Not to say that like China is a full-blown socialist state. It clearly isn't. It's a transitional socialist state. But even the mere attempt at like developing a transitional socialist state or having a command economy can create an environment of sustainability and and a government that focuses on development unconditionally. It's crazy. China is not going to allow some small-headed giant to be a streamer. I mean, how many fucking people are me to begin with? chatters, like how many people are her versus how many people are me? Okay. The goal is to make people like her live a comfortable life as the one she has found in China. Like, this is what's so frustrating about people. It's like, well, you wouldn't exist in China. First of all, you're wrong. There are infinitely more successful versions of me in China. They're just hawking products, okay, like lipstick and shit like that, okay, instead of doing political commentary, if that's what you want to talk about. But again, you know, we cannot design society around making people like me exist. Okay? Even if they do, that's fine. But like, we should not be focusing on designing society around like the endlessly fortunate individuals who have been able to reach levels of success that are impossible to replicate. Okay? The overwhelming majority, the 99% of society is not doing this, is not doing what I'm doing. They're doing what she's doing. They're you in the chat, you know, delivering working as delivery drivers for Amazon, working in facilities, working laptop jobs, teaching language, teaching English, teaching education, just, you know, working in education, working in nursing. The goal of society is supposed to be to improve the living standards of the 99%. Not to create an environment where some people just fucking thrive, you know? God forbid, bro, people think about people outside his current class. It's ironic because people do think about people outside of their current class all the time. They think about the wealthy all the time. They think about the interests of the wealthy all the time, with the false hope that they will also be in that class one day. That's the problem.
Current yearly salary in China is 30,000 US dollars. 30,000 US dollars a year is poverty in America. But in China, I'm living large. I am upper middle class. For my 3-bedroom apartment with a balcony located...
What is she going to say is the price of a 3-bedroom apartment in Chengdu? If she says anything less than $1,000, I'm losing it.
Downtown Chengdu, just a 5-minute walk from the subway. My rent is $556 per month.
What? In the cheapest city in the United States of America, the only way your rent will be $556 a month at a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment is if you are sharing it with 2 other people that are also paying $556 a month. Okay? That is insane. You need to have at least 1, if not 2 roommates to pay a price like that at a 3-bedroom apartment.
But my job pays half of that as a benefit.
What? What?
Which means I only pay $278 a month for my apartment. Welcome to my apartment here in Chengdu, China. None of this furniture in the apartment actually belongs to me. It belongs to my landlord. This is my living room. I love my living room. It's super cozy. I have this huge sectional couch that I just come to lay on all of the time.
In Stillwater, Oklahoma, that'll be $1,600 plus. I paid $2,300 USD for my 1-bedroom apartment. Bro, if more people watch this, they will fucking revolt. I feel like Back in the day, you needed to read the fucking quotations, select quotations from Chairman Mao, okay? Nowadays, you just need to watch a CNBC video, okay? This is, if enough Americans watch this, no matter where they are, it would lead them, into doing a peasant's rebellion.
Bought myself a projector. I've got Netflix, HBO Max, Hulu, all of the channels. This is my balcony that rarely gets
Me and my 2 roomies pay $1,600 for a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom house here in Oklahoma.
used because it's either raining, super humid, or 97 degrees. Okay. This is my bathroom. It's small, but it's effective. This is my wardrobe room. This is the 3rd bedroom, but there's no bed. So I've turned it into my wardrobe, closet, get ready space. My 2nd bedroom. I didn't paint it. It came like this. And this is the master bedroom. This is it. Let me show you the kitchen. So here it is. It's pretty small, but I'm just one person and it works perfect for me. This is where I do my laundry. This is my washer. My apartment came with this really.
Do you know anything about life in small cities in China? Is it decent for foreigners? I've had experiences in big multi-million citizen cities, although in the Western Hemisphere, and I found it not working for me. I mean, I don't know, but I don't think if you live in China, you're going to be living in a fucking, you're going to be living anything beyond like a tier 2 city if you're a foreigner.
Really cool built-in feature where I can hang my clothes on this hanging line that again is perfect for shorties like me.
It's so insane to see this inverse existence between the average American and average Chinese person. In 40 years, the average American has gone from modest and comfortable living like this to utterly crushing poverty, while the average Chinese person has gone from poverty to modest and comfortable living. How many American cities have fallen to poverty in 40 years, and how many Chinese cities have risen to luxury in 40 years? Yeah, no, it's that simple, dude. That's it. That's it. That's the reason why people are like, that's the reason why China gets away with like social repression of different sorts. Meanwhile, America's taking away the social libertarian principles that it previously had as well, while simultaneously eroding material conditions. Great.
So other benefits that come with being an international teacher at my school is I have free health care insurance. My job.
This isn't a flex. I could live in my car for $300 a month. Exactly.
Gives me, I think it's like $15 a month for subway fare.
Nice to see you admit to Chinese social repression. What is this implication that I don't talk about this or something? Like, oh, we got him. He's finally admitting to it. Yeah, I talk about it all the time, dude. What the f? My point is, people still are happy with their living standards because the government is improving their material realities. Okay? It would be nice if they got social freedoms on top. Well, they already have social freedoms in the way that we understand it here in America as well, but like even more social freedoms. Do you know how to move to China asking for a friend? I don't know.
In addition, every year my job gives me a flight allowance, and that comes to $1,200 US. Each month, I think I spend approximately $75 on groceries. I have 4 bags of groceries, mostly produce, and a bottle of sesame oil. Total $9.04. It's really easy to make friends with local people. I have a lot of local friends that I cherish and have taught me so much about their culture. And I also have a lot of expat friends. Okay. Aside from being a university teacher, I'm also a YouTuber, content creator, and with both of those salaries combined, the maximum amount I am able to save is up to $1,000 every month. So when it comes to eating out, it really depends on where I'm going. If I'm going to Cheesecake Factory, then I'm spending US Cheesecake Factory money, $60 for.
It is kind of funny because like America's literally doing things in a base boosted manner that we suspect China of doing, that we claim China is doing. Some of it China is not even doing, right? But we're doing it right now. Like we'll be like, oh, in China, you can't say anything. You can't say Xi Jinping is Winnie the Pooh or something, right? And it's like, sure, there's like censorship on social media around that thing. God forbid you talk about Israel, okay, in America. Like, what do you mean? You can't come into the country if you have a JD Vance meme that looks like a fucking porky little baby, okay? We're doing that. We're doing the things. We're doing the things right now in the United States of America that we said China was doing and laughed about for years and years and years. And we're doing a worse version of that. People are getting black bagged and kidnapped for exercising their previously afforded First Amendment rights against a foreign nation state that relies heavily on American subsidies to exist and be violent, Israel. And motherfuckers are like, but China. Bitch, they also have fucking 28-cent metros that work reliably all the time.
A meal. But if I'm eating local and going to my neighborhood noodle spot, I'm spending $2 on a bowl of noodles. In a month, I'm spending about $150 eating out. I feel completely safe as a woman of color. I just feel very at ease in this country. Overall crime in this country is quite low. Some of the challenges I face in China is just simply being different. China is a homogenous country, so I stick out like a sore thumb. I cannot go a day being outside without someone pointing at me and saying in Chinese, look, there's a black person, look, there's a foreigner. Another challenge is the homesickness, is missing not only your family and friends, but missing the understanding.
I love glazing China for their infrastructure, but many people in China are incredibly racist towards black people. My friend went to Kunming for a trip, and he said numerous people went up to him and called him, I'm not going to say that word, which is the Chinese version of the N-word. He was shocked people called him that explicitly. Yeah, well, you know, also America. Good thing the United States of America has a really good track record of not allowing any sort of anti-black racism to exist. That's kind of, I feel like that's basically the entry level, you know? That's just the common, it shouldn't exist anywhere, and yet it still persists everywhere. You know? It's true though. Yes. Especially, there's two different kinds of racism in places like this. Okay. There is that's a black person, and I've never seen a black person before style racism, which is more like fascination, born out of ignorance. And then there is the racism that you see not dissimilar to the Western world where, you know, some form of chattel slavery existed. There's both. I'm good on going to China, bro. Man, you live in fucking Canada, okay? Good luck. Disparaging China, talking about, oh man, there's anti-black racism in China. Chatter lives in fucking Canada, okay? Just wait until you become a colony of China, and then things will improve. I'm saying it's cool, but it ain't for me. You should, instead of learning whatever dialect they speak in Toronto, you should learn Mandarin, equally as difficult, equally as different from the normal English language anyway. Okay? If you want to do trade in the beautiful city of Toronto, you need to learn the Toronto language, Crody. The Toronton dialect. Oh.
Understanding of just how to do things.
You're moving like a bucket right now, fam. See, this is what I mean. Don't know what that means at all. That is basically indecipherable, okay? That's basically Chinese to me. I don't know what either of these things, if someone were to be speaking in Mandarin, okay, right now in the chat, it would be equally as indecipherable. Don't know what that is.
That was the hardest part, is that learning curve of trying to figure out how China works.
I just suspect if it's anything similar to the other Asian countries that I know of and have visited, the biggest L for China, I suspect, is going to be the lack of Mexican culture and Mexican food. That's it. That's like, I feel like that's the biggest L for most countries. It's just without Latin Americans in general, without South Americans in general, it's just like the vibes are different. It shifts.
So you know that saying about New York, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Well, throw that away and apply it to China.
How China built its most extreme metro ever.
Traveling to work on a roller coaster, riding over streets, mountains, rivers, and then blasting through the side of a building. You're looking at the most extreme the most extreme commute in the entire world. But where even is this? And how was it actually built? Hey, I'm your host Regis, and today, we'll be taking a look at this insane, record-breaking metro up close. If you visit the Chinese city of Chongqing, it feels like
Damn, he hit that hard. He hit that a little too hard. Swagless white boy says name of Chinese city, instantly gets canceled.
shouldn't really be there. Usually, you find cities in flat regions. At worst, there'll be a few hills. But Chongqing is totally different. It's built across a range of unusual mountains. They cut through the city in long, straight lines, almost like fingers on a hand. It's a place of ups and downs, of extreme verticality. But people live there, 32 million of them. If you counted everyone living in New York City and then quadrupled that number, you wouldn't be far off the current population of Chongqing. The highest point is about 400 meters above sea level, but the lowest point is more like 150. That's a 250 meter difference. You could build a skyscraper in the lowest parts of the city, and the top wouldn't even reach the highest parts. Just look at this plaza. It's at ground level, right? Well, not exactly. The whole city is like this. Earlier this year, a journalist at The Guardian described Chongqing as a cross between the movie Inception and a game of snakes and ladders. Other people have called it the 8D city. I don't even know what 8 dimensions would even look like. Well, like the city of Chongqing, I guess. And how do people get around in this 8D city? That's right. It's time to talk about the most extreme metro in the world. A few decades ago, there weren't any trains in Chongqing.
That is fucking nuts, dude. Bro, it's reverse America. China is literally bizarro America. This is what American cities are turning into as industry leaves. And Chinese cities that look like this when American industry was thriving at the same time now look insane.
You needed to walk, or drive, or cycle, or bus, or maybe even hop on a cable car. In the past, the roads in Chongqing were clogged. At rush hour, a single road in the city could see tens of thousands of impatient people traveling to work all at the same time. Too many people, not enough roads. One expert said that Chongqing's transport was the second worst in the whole of China. That's why it really needed a metro, to take the pressure off those gridlocked roads. But the thought of actually building one, well, to be honest, it was pretty absurd. Building a metro isn't easy, especially in a city like this one. But somehow they managed it. In 2005, the Chongqing Metro opened its doors to the public. Later, we'll see exactly what it took to build this incredible project. But first, let's take a proper look at it.
I don't understand something. So they had traffic congestion, but it feels like they didn't build extra lanes. And as an American, that doesn't make any sense to me because you're just supposed to add extra lanes. Why didn't they just add one more lane? Clearly, that would have solved the problem. What is this like lame metro? No, when I say lane, I don't mean like a metro lane, guys. I mean like a lane on the highway. What? That's weird. It's weird. I don't like this.
In total, the Chongqing metro system covers a total of 560 kilometers. That's longer than the New York subway or the London Underground. Chongqing is officially the 6th longest metro in the world. But the length of this metro, while pretty impressive, isn't what makes this network so incredibly unique. No, what makes this metro unique is, well, you know what? Why don't you see for yourself? It runs on bridges high above the city. It runs along the sides of mountains. It even runs through buildings. These are residential apartments with views over the river and a metro line running straight through the 8th and 9th floors. Chongqing is home to the highest metro station in the world, with a platform almost 50 meters above the ground. But these train lines run underground as well. And believe it or not, Chongqing is also home to the deepest station in the world. At its deepest point, this station is more than 100 meters below the surface. It takes 8 whole minutes to ride the escalators to the platform. Apparently, your ears pop on the way down. It's hard to believe, but Hongyangkun Station, the deepest in the world, and Hualongqiao Station, the highest in the world, are
Yo, when you coming to China, I'm waiting for you. September.
actually on the same line as each other, just a couple of stops apart. But wait, there's more. As well as these record-breaking stations, the Chongqing Metro also has record-breaking bridges. There's the Ugongyang Rail Transit Bridge with a length of 1.6 kilometers. It's the longest metro-only suspension bridge in the world. Then there's the Kaijiao Rail Transit Bridge, which
That makes no sense. Building a bridge for a metro? What? What about the cars? Why is nobody talking about the cars? Does nobody think about the cars? Why does no one care about car-reliant infrastructure? Where are the parking lots? Please tell me they built more parking lots. They should probably pave some of the green areas that they have so they can make parking lots. I am a Dallas enjoyer, okay? I am a Dallas enjoyer, and this is really breaking my brain. I don't like this.
Carries trains across the Jialing River. At 100 meters, it's the highest metro-only bridge.
Do you ever fear you'll get Paris syndrome if you visit China? No. Not even a little bit.
In the world. On certain days when the fog rolls in, crossing the Kaijia is like riding a train through the clouds. Elsewhere, you've got the Chaotianmen Bridge. This one holds a record too. With a total length of 1.7 kilometers, it's the longest through-arch bridge in the world. Another famous through-arch bridge is the Sydney Harbour Bridge, but that one is less than 1.2 kilometers long. I make that, let's see, 5 world records, and still, there's a couple more. It seems like China is breaking record after record lately. But
Paris syndrome is most commonly experienced by Japanese tourists. Japan is very Francophile. They love French culture. And then when they inevitably visit Paris, France, they realize that it doesn't hold up to their expectations. It's just disappointment. So that chatter was asking if I would feel a similar sense of disappointment after hailing China as this beautiful pearl, but I don't think so. Because when you look at the things I like about China, I can totally understand why someone living in fucking Tokyo would hate Paris, because all of the amenities that you have in a place like Tokyo, you all of a sudden lose in a place like Paris. Whereas we have no such amenities here in the United States of America. And therefore, if I were to go to China, it would be, as someone who's an infrastructure nut like myself, I would most likely not experience any sort of disappointment. Unless all of these images that I've seen of China so far are just totally fake. It's CGI. It's totally fake CGI, and they don't actually have tremendous development projects. You know what I mean? Yeah, I just go there and it's all backwater. It's all just fucking undeveloped. The thing that I've heard from people that go, the one thing that they actually do get annoyed by is the incredible amounts of crowding. That usually you don't see in a lot of the tourist footage. Is that it gets very crowded and people are kind of culturally rude as far as how they stand in lines and stuff. They'll push you and and they'll get incredibly close. But I think that's pretty much the only thing that I would not like. Look up Jerusalem syndrome. Yeah, that's the only thing that would happen to me. I would have the Chinese version of Jerusalem syndrome. Okay? I don't know what that would look like. The Chinese version of Jerusalem syndrome is when you think you're reincarnated as Mao Zedong. Jerusalem syndrome. What you just mentioned is 100% true. As a Westerner, you all just get a lot of staring and sometimes weird treatment. Yeah, but that exists in Japan too. The only difference from what I gather is that in Japan, people are rude to you behind your back, or will just politely tell you that you can't go into a restaurant or whatever. There's a lot of racism in Japan. But in China, people would just be ruder. But I don't give a shit. I live in America. People call me a fucking terrorist 1,000 times a day. I don't give a shit. I already experience it with regular frequency. So.
But dig a little deeper into the country's economic situation and it becomes clear. Not everything is as smooth as it seems. But in today's world of polarized and sensationalized media, how do you figure out what's really going on? It's not easy, especially when headlines are often designed to attract clicks, not inform. But there's a better way. And that's where Ground News comes in, an independent platform that compares how different news outlets across the political spectrum cover the same story. For example, the right-leaning Daily Caller highlights China's economy stumbling under Trump's tariffs. Meanwhile, the left-leaning Global Times emphasizes China's resilience in the face of those same challenges. Same story, two very different angles. Ground news lets you compare all of these perspectives.
I don't think there is a pro-China slant on ground news. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna keep it a $1.50.
Each source a factuality.
But we're doing ethical reacts, chatters. This is a video that's only 2 weeks old, so
100 articles from the past month on China's economy and summed it up simply. While export-driven industrial output remains strong, weak consumer demand and falling property prices pose challenges for China's economic recovery. As you can see, ground news helps you to get the full story, and that's why we value this tool so much. Check them out and head to ground.news/mega or scan our QR code for 40% off their top-tier Vantage plan. With that, you can get unlimited access for about $5 a month. Again, that's ground.news/mega, so don't miss out. And now, let's dive into how and why the Chongqing Metro was built. Since the 1940s, various groups have put together official proposals for a metro system in Chongqing. They've always abandoned their plans though. The project just didn't seem feasible. In the 70s and 80s,
if China fights India, I support China because I'm Chinese. If America fights India, I support India because I'm Asian. If America fights aliens, I support America because I'm human. If aliens fight Japan, I support aliens. That's crazy. That's crazy.
metros were constructed in Beijing and Shanghai, but Chongqing? Nothing. The project was too difficult from a technical perspective and way too expensive as well. But things changed towards the end of the 1980s when a new task force was put into place. This task force was serious about getting this done and spent the next few years traveling abroad, inspecting metros in other countries, and learning as much as possible about building railways in difficult vertical spaces. One of the first things they realized was that a conventional railway probably wasn't the best option. By conventional here, we just mean a flat set of tracks, like the ones you see in most subways. That's what China...
I don't understand. So they sent a task force out, and the task force actually, like, forced a task instead of simply just, like, sitting around and collecting cash and then not getting anything done. This doesn't make any sense. At what point does the private-public partnership kick in, where the private enterprise simply just uses the government as a money cannon, that they fill a pool with yuans and then they dive into the pool instead of like actually taking the money and then building the railroads? I don't get it.
Used for the metro in Beijing and also the metro in Shanghai. That's what you see in the London Underground or the subway system in New York. But the task force came up with an alternative. How about using monorails? Here's the thing, a monorail track is way lighter than a conventional rail track. And if you're building lots of elevated tracks and bridges, the system needs fewer supports. The task force worked out that a conventional metro, like the one in Beijing, would cost more than $200 million per kilometer of rail. But a monorail metro would cost half as much, more like $100 million per kilometer. Monorails are also more energy efficient than conventional rails. Again, the task force worked out that a station using conventional tracks would use about 10 times as much energy as a station that used monorail tracks. Monorail systems are also better at tight turns and climbing steep slopes. In other words, using monorails in Chongqing felt a bit like a no-brainer. Okay, so you're probably wondering, if monorails are so great, why doesn't everyone just use them? Well, the thing is, a monorail only really makes sense if you're building an elevated metro. If you're building an underground rail system, it is a totally different story. While a monorail is lighter than a conventional system, it actually takes up more vertical space. A conventional system uses low, flat rails with the trains just riding on top. But a monorail system uses one tall rail, which the trains can...
This is making me more depressed than the BBB. Yeah, I'm really driving a fucking nail in the coffin here. This is insult to injury time, you know what I mean? I know it's messed up. Wait, hold on. My buddy's here.
Straddle on both sides. Now, typically, metros use a lot of tunnels dug out beneath a city's streets. And if you're excavating tunnels, the last thing that you want is a rail that takes up more space. That means digging higher tunnels, which takes time and money. So in the majority of cases, monorail metros are actually a pretty bad idea. But not for Chongqing. In this 8D city, monorails made perfect sense. But the project still wouldn't be easy. Usually, when you build an elevated rail, you'd build the support columns first, and then use cranes to lower each piece of monorail into position. But in Chongqing, that wasn't really an option. With all the narrow streets, and slopes, and drops, it was hard enough for a person to move around, let alone something as large and precarious as a crane. Now, luckily, the task force had an answer. They developed a specialist beam transport machine, carefully designed for this specific task. The machine would hug a piece of rail to its belly, crawl onto the support columns, and then lay the rail.
Oh, I'm nutting. Bro, this is fucking crazy. Oh, that's so sick. What the fuck?
Into place. It was a long time coming, but in December of 2000, these machines were put into action. Just 5 years later, the first line of the metro was officially open to the public. Line 2, as it's known, was mostly elevated above the city streets, although a couple kilometers did run underground at one end. This very first line is actually the one that passes through those apartment buildings from earlier in the video. When this line was being built, this piece of land was actually owned by a construction company. They hadn't built anything yet, but they were planning to, and that building was going to get in the way of the rail. In the end, the company worked with the metro to design a building with which the metro could safely intersect. To do this, the designers needed to make sure that the vibrations passing through the monorail line didn't damage the rest of the building. That is quite a bit of engineering. We'll see exactly how they did it in a second. But real quick first, if you're enjoying this video and you want to see similar content in the future, don't forget to subscribe to Megabuilds. Anyways, back to the metro. So how did they make sure that—
Dude, I don't care what system makes this. I want it, okay? You can call it whatever you want. Call it socialism, call it omega capitalism. I don't give a shit. I want it, dude. I fucking want it. I want it so fucking bad. Dude, think about that. Like, we could have this, dude. We could have this. We could have this in the United States of America.